I just want to thank you guys for coming out of you guys' time to really share this and be able to give information about what we're doing at Pohakuloa and what we're trying to do better, be better stewards.
So this is programmatic agreement. It's supposed to focus on cultural and spiritual sites.
So the reason why we're doing this right now is to be transparent to the local community and also to get their feedback on the PA programmatic agreement.
And then also I got Corey Walter, that he'll talk about the training that occurs on Pohakuloa.
Now we're doing this in Hilo and Kona, but it's very important to us do this process. And the reason being is me being from Hawaii and just having that open communication and transparency, and then also to show the community that we care and they're being that good steward of Pohakuloa.
They're focusing, they won't even tell people what's going on. They list us as one of the consulting agencies, Malawaina, but they don't even tell you what they found in depth. And they ignore the big picture. Like the word, I read through the 133 pages of this document. The word Pohakuloa, the definition of that, the land of the night of long prayer, is not mentioned in there. Depleted uranium is not mentioned in there. What kind of live fire training specific is not mentioned in there. The fact that B-2 bombers from Louisiana, Missouri, and Guam, these $2.1 billion bombers each, fly here and bomb Pohakuloa, return back to those places without ever touching down, and what kind of bombs they're dropping is not mentioned at all. I mean, that's nuclear war training in the land of the night of long prayer.
But there's some folks, I've been conducting a lot of outreach. When you look at taking care of the community, especially me being from here, I feel like a sense of responsibility to go out and to reach some folks. So there's some folks I met prior to this open forum, but there's a few folks that I have not met prior to it. So I'm from Oahu, born and raised Oahu, grew up in Kalihi Valley, went to Damien Memorial High School, graduated from Chaminade and got my commission from the University of Hawaii in 2000. So born and raised here. You know, so I just have a deeper appreciation being the Pohakuloa commander. There was a lot of good former Pohakuloa commanders, and I'm just trying to be, you know, be the best that I can be.
Now the new commander board chief seems very personable, a local guy, born and raised Kalihi on Oahu. His wife's Hawaiian, knows Keanu Sai, I think knows Kukahakalao, who was up protesting with us at Pohakuloa. So that's good things. Now, how far this transparency and goodwill will go, I don't know. And I raised the point of the process here tonight, that the whole process is insulting, that what is needed, especially in Hawaii, if you're talking about a cultural, spiritual impact, is an oral hearing where you let the community speak. You can limit 2 or 3 minutes, but in that way, everybody gets to hear one another's concerns. And there's a real value in that. The community can feel empowered. I didn't think of that, or oh, that's a good point too. So you get to hear everybody. Here you come in, it's like a science fair. You go around to the different stations, and then if you want to put something on the record, you go into the detention facility in the back corner and submit it in writing or on the videotape. So again, no hearing, you're not hearing one another. And it's not by accident. You know, they're not required to have a hearing, so they don't have a hearing. And they're trying to cut us out from all that stuff.
Yes, this is both cultural and then also the threatened endangered species, which is animals and plants. So on Pohakuloa, that falls under, I have the cultural resource and the natural resource. Under those two departments, I have a cooperative agreement, one with the University of Hilo and the other one with Colorado State University. So my 3 priorities for Pohakuloa is taking care of readiness, making sure units are ready to be deployed, and then my second priority is taking care of the community. And then also, my third priority is taking care of the workforce. When you look at my second priority, which is taking care of the community, I want to be able to be open communication, transparent, and then also educate and tell them that there's a process that we need to follow.
A year or 2 ago, when they were talking about the expansion of Pohakuloa, we wanted a hearing, they refused. So we had meetings, went to the county, and Ruth conducted one in Kona, and we videotaped them. And we sent in the videotape for testimony of all the people that spoke.
Today we are having a public hearing, basically a public meeting in lieu of a public hearing which should be held by the U.S. Army garrison Pohakuloa. This is in response.
And the insulting thing was they said they would not accept that. That if we wanted to include it in the record, we had to transcribe that several-hour video within a couple of days and submit it as record. Again, insulting in a place where the culture is an oral culture, and we tried to do their job for them. But it just shows a lack of goodwill. And I wanted these commanders to hear what we've been through for decades here. And we still try to treat them with respect, even though what we've been through.
It's the key word that I use and I to kind of share with my staff is coexisting. Being able to train, but then also make sure that we're being good stewards with the cultural sites, but then also with our threatened endangered species.
Depleted uranium, not mentioned in there, and we had to deliver forms tonight about military human experimentation. And the basic issue comes down to this. If the military knows what they're doing is causing a direct harm, that's criminal action. But they claim they don't think it's a problem. That's what they're. But they haven't allowed comprehensive independent testing and monitoring by citizen groups to determine the full extent of the contamination. And that's where you get into this, we haven't given our consent. And citizens have a right to not be exposed to things that are potential harm without giving their consent. That's what people in Nazi Germany were executed for, unethical human experimentation. And we're saying that's the same type of thing going on here. So Dr. Pang, who's 24 years Army Medical Corps, he drafted this 6-page document about informed consent. And I said, Dr. Pang, we need something a little shorter as a first step, then you can go into people who are concerned with a larger step thing. So that's why I kind of drafted this one paragraph. Quite a few people signed it tonight, delivered it to the military, and I have a copy of it. So we're putting them on notice that we're raising this military human experimentation issue. And we'll see what happens out of it.
You got dust, depleted uranium dust, radioactive dust. So I don't really understand the lawsuit that, well, we keep bombing this where. Fine, you keep your crap on your area, bomb all you want. But we know it drifts, and the stuff is active millions of years.
Every time they speak about depleted uranium, they're using the Atomic Energy Commission external hazard of radiation. And depleted uranium is not an external hazard. A piece of metal, you could actually hold it in your hand. It doesn't have the gamma rays, the penetrating rays. What's the distinction is, it's when that metal, depleted uranium metal, is hit with high explosive and burns. It forms depleted uranium oxide particles. And if you inhale those tiny particles, Lorne Pang said that's the most deadly form of radiation. So depleted uranium metal, not a problem. We'll agree with the military on that. But what they're not dealing with is the repeated, 60, 70 years of high explosives in those areas, turning the metal into depleted uranium oxide particles. And everybody who lives here knows the winds at Pohakuloa, 50 miles an hour or higher. And those particles can be carried all around the island. And that's the issue. So it's apples and oranges. So the military hasn't been very upfront about the two different issues there.
Number one message is I want Pohakuloa to be transparent. The other one is I want that open communications between the local community and Pohakuloa. I have nothing to hide on Pohakuloa. And the other one is to be transparent, but also there's a process. And then we can work through that process to make sure that we meet the end state together.
I just spent about a half an hour talking with Lieutenant Commander Borchi's boss, which is the garrison commander on Oahu, and informing him of all of our goodwill efforts and how we operate out of the Gandhian nonviolent principle. We try to treat people with respect, and we want community dialogue, even though we may take a firm decision that's counter to their position. But we wanted to open up some least dialogue. Now we're set to have some kind of visitation at Pohakuloa with the new Commander Borchi that we'd hope will go to the Pu'ukapele, where we built an ahu about 18 years ago, I think it was.
Well, that's one thing we're looking at it. It's more of a cultural site visit, but as you see it, my priority first is the readiness and ensuring that the units that come to Pohakuloa are trained and ready for combat. Then the second one is the community, is taking care of community. So there's a process that's followed. If they really want to if they want to visit the cultural site, that would be vetted through my public affairs officer, and then down to Dr. Julie, then for final review to myself.
2 years ago, we requested Commander Marquez, after the Chamber of Commerce I saw got a tour, it was in the newspapers, the Chamber of Commerce had a tour, I called the commander and said, we'd like the same thing that the Chamber got. We'd also like to go to the Ahu that we built nearly 18 years ago, and we'd like to go to the firing ranges where the Davy Crockett's were fired from into the impact area. Those were three specific, the drone field, the firing ranges, and the Ahu. And we thought we were going to get something, never got anything. He was their commander 2 years, stiffed us the entire time. So the goodwill really ended very quickly there. I don't know if it came from on top or whether he just stiffened. You know, besides this programmatic agreement on routine training, there's right now a $210 million construction thing planned. Again, an EA was done on this. And Mike Reimer, the retired nuclear geologist from Kona, he said, and I put to both Borchi and the other commander from Garrison, Hawaii, he said, see if they will commit $100,000 of that $210 million, because they mentioned they're concerned about air quality in the new cantonment area. See if they'll commit $100,000 for a citizen military, independent kind of testing to check for depleted uranium, air filter samples. I mean, 100,000 of a $210 million project, that's less than 1/2%. It's Menini. So I'm going to put that in writing as a follow-up to the verbal request tonight. We'll see. But that's direct challenge. Are you in good faith or not?